Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome to another Sunday Sync. I was just mentioning before we started that a couple of my strategies are showing up in the mainstream, like bigger pockets and whatnot. So one of those is co-living. Um, I won't talk about that one because people I think know what that is, rent by room. But the other one is velocity banking. It showed up on the Real Wealth show, and it's showing up in a lot of more mainstream YouTube things. And I was going to ask, all it is a debt pay down strategy, and some people think it's fairly complicated. And I just thought of this like 10 minutes before I was watching the Real Wealth thing. So I figured I'd bring it up. I didn't really prepare anything. If you guys wanted to be my guinea pigs, I could explain it real quick, or we can go off into some other topic.
I'd like to hear.
Okay. The way I see this is for me is knowledge is power, right?
This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, yeah. The way I see it is knowledge is power, and you may use it now, you may not use it at all. But in growth phase, essentially what it is a way to pay down debt really fast. But it does require some type of line of credit. Most people use a HELOC, or some people can use cards that are zero. Real quick. Sorry, Flavio, I got to mute you there.
Yeah.
A lot of feedback coming through. Um, and so I think this is important. I think there's stages of real estate investing. Obviously, the first one I think Zuber and Dion and a lot of people talk about is, trying to save that delta for, say, a down payment or work out, seller finance or things like that. But most of us are probably doing it the traditional way, saving up, I would imagine, and getting loans and those type of things. Now, I have used this to pay down loans, but what I've been using it for lately is the acquisition. The reason this came to mind is I now have more on my HELOC than I've ever had. I've been using my HELOC for 30 to 40. I got to 50 grand once, and then I pay it down really fast. Well, I'm now up to 80 grand. And so some people are saying, dude, that's crazy. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Even Zuber said that back in his day, he used a HELOC and, he focused on paying that down. And it got me thinking, I think the easiest way to explain this is not even with a spreadsheet or anything, just straight up. Most people know what a HELOC is, right? A home equity line of credit. So you have a line of credit that you can pull from anytime you want. You don't have to get approvals or whatever. It's basically leveraging the equity in your home. And this is what I was saying about if you don't have a property that you can pull the line of credit from, you can still leverage like a 0% credit card. A lot of them are 12, 18 months, if you have decent credit. And I'm doing both. I'm leveraging 0% credit cards, and I'm also leveraging my line of credit. And the way I thought about before coming on here was, if you want to pay down debt, like let's say you leverage a credit card for construction costs, and rather than pay, $500 a month, let's say the payments, I don't know, $200, and you pay $500 a month towards that credit card, you'll pay it down faster. But there's a faster way, which is, uh, let me use the line of credit for the HELOC as an example, because that's what I've been doing. So if you were to take, let's just make it easy, 50 grand off a HELOC, and your positive cash flow was $1,000, it's going to take you 50 months, let's say, to pay that off, right? But let's say you took some of your other debts and you rolled those into the HELOC as well. It frees up your cash flow to pay more towards that HELOC than you otherwise would. So essentially, you pay it down faster. Yes, you're putting some on the HELOC, but you're focusing all your efforts on that. So let's just keep it simple and say you had 50 grand on there and you bought a house with it or something. So let's say you didn't do the velocity banking method. Let's just say you put once a month, you put what you could, which was like $1,000. In that month, you're going to be paying the fee for borrowing that money plus the interest, right? So let's say 50 grand is $300 for the payment, and then it'll be, let's just call it about the same, $300 for the interest or so. So you're going to pay, I'm making up numbers. Let's just say it's $600 a month, but you're paying that principal portion as well. Let's say you wanted to pay that principal. If you just had interest only, it'd be a little different. And there's HELOCs like that, but you'll be just paying the interest forever and you'll never pay it down. So you probably want to put something towards principal at least once a month. But that would take you a long time to pay that down, because you're still paying that principal, right? That $300 a month for the principal plus the $300 for the interest, that, $600 a month. So it would take you twice as long, more or less. If, let's say, you didn't have to pay that $300 principal, then your $600 would be going towards, I'm sorry. Yeah. Let's say you didn't have to pay that. Then your $600 payment would be going towards principal and interest and pay it down faster. And that's basically what velocity banking is all you're doing is, instead of having a checking account where your money goes in there and sits there and does nothing, you put every dime into the HELOC. And the reason this works is it's the difference between, let's say, like a car loan or a home loan with amortized loans where it's all interest in the front end. This is an average daily balance loan, just like a credit card is. And so that way, if you take that lump, every dime you make, it satisfies that principal payment, right? And if you don't have a principal and you're just interest only, it satisfies the principal pay down. And so that's how it works. Basically, that's a piece of it anyway. But the other thing is to focus everything towards paying that debt down fast. And so for me, the way I do it is my positive net cash flow after everything's said and done, personal, business, blah, 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 is over 10 grand. And that's just the number I have. It's about 11 grand, but things ebb and flow. So for me, that 80 grand is going to get paid off in roughly 8 months. And I'm able to do that with velocity banking. So I'm hoping that came across okay. I don't know if that made sense. Did that make sense to people?
Yeah, I started doing it a month ago. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, had to set it up where our W-2 goes directly into the HELOC, and we have an interest-only HELOC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's going directly into the HELOC, and then I basically take out from it, and I've only taken out from it like 4 times because I just started doing this a few weeks ago for bills. So all I'm doing is pulling from it as bills come due.
Yeah.
So that it stays in there longer.
Yep. Yep. And then, I've sort of timed mine because and it's not that much in interest savings. It's like $80 or something, but I've timed mine where most of the month, the average daily balance is as low as it can be. And then I even, how you have that 15-day grace period for mortgage payments. I have my mortgage payments coming out on the 5th because I'm that big of a tight ass that when I get my money on the 1st, I put it into the into the HELOC, and I just do it because the hell of it. I don't know why. It doesn't save much, but it makes me feel good.
It does. So I've always like tried to pay my house payment on the 15th, because I know why give the bank, leverage on your money before you should. And you're not paying. And the thing is you're not getting less principal, because it goes there. That difference, I was told, is like pennies, but you're making money letting that money sit in your bank account till the 15th.
Yeah, you're saving. Yeah. The only reason I don't do it later is because I'm just scared. Like if for some reason something happens to that payment, I still have enough time to make up a difference or make a payment. Let's say something goes awry. I'm a little paranoid. So if I had it set to the 15th and something went wrong, then I would be late. And that scares me. So I don't push it that far. But yeah, you're pushing it further than me. But essentially in growth mode, if you get to the point where you can get some type of line of credit, I think it's valuable. Now I know that the Zubers and the Dions and the Matts of the world, that I asked them and they said, they didn't really, know much about it or care much about it. But you got to think about where they're at in their real estate investing career. They're there, man. Like they're way up there. So in the beginning, I think it's important to at least know about it. So if it comes across where, like, let's say like I just did, I just bought a house for another house, and I put down payment on a HELOC, and then I put the construction on the HELOC, and yada yada. It's good to have these tools in your tool belt. So if you got to the point where you wanted to pay down debt, then this is a strategy you might look at. And there's also infinite banking, which I do like it. The only reason I haven't done it yet is I don't, and I think Robert's on here. He'd mentioned this last week, and I don't remember what the deal was, but it's not FDIC insured, I don't think. I still have to look into it. I haven't done it yet. I'm like 99% mastered the velocity banking stuff, and it's working really well for me.
That's what the whole life, right?
Yeah.
It's not. They're not. It's not FDIC insured.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that scares me, and it can work well in conjunction with this velocity banking. So anyway, I don't want to beat a dead horse. I just figured I'd bring this up. And if you're in growth mode and you have the ability to get a line of credit, you might look at velocity banking. It actually, I just mentioned there's some people that just joined after I mentioned this, but it's popped up a lot on some of the bigger pockets, in the Real Wealth show recently. So it's kind of getting some notoriety and whatnot. So it's a good way to pay down debt. And I have paid some towards principal on properties, but more or less what I'm using it for is to, instead of sitting there saving up money, sitting in a checking account, I'm pulling it forward just like you would with bonus depreciation for taxes or whatever. So I'm getting the house now and using the HELOC to obtain the house. And then I'm paying down that debt faster with the velocity banking method so I can do it again, right? So it's kind of like a Burr method where you're recycling the cash. I'm kind of do that, except I'm not really recycling the cash. I'm just paying debt down faster so I can do it again and do it again and do it again. So that's what I'm doing.
So is the point of all that is to, can you hear me right?
Yep. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Is to reduce interest, correct?
Right. Yeah. If you leverage
it's the difference between the interest that you're getting in your savings account versus the interest you're paying on your debt.
Yeah, if you want to look at it that way, I'm looking at it like I'm leveraging the 0% credit cards as well. And so all my utilities for everything, I have a personal credit card that pays for my personal home and its utilities and everything. And then I have a business credit card that pays for all my rentals. And they're both 0% cards and until the middle of next month. Then I have to switch up to a new card again because I don't pay interest on anything. So that way I leverage it. And then my HELOC pays the credit card every 30 days. So my business card isn't 0%. So that one I have to pay every 30 days so I don't get charged. But that's more for accounting and points because the accounting, I want to make sure I want to keep that business card for accounting. I guess I could go get another 0% business card, but anyway, I haven't done that yet. So
the only offers I've ever gotten for zero interest credit cards are ones that basically for transferring debt, there's a big charge involved for that.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah.
So you've been able to get like offers where it's 0%, no charge for transfers.
Yeah, I go out and get them. I go out and look for them.
And you can research. There's ones, and they'll even give you like 2% back. I think Wells Fargo has a great one where they'll give you 0% for 21 months and 2% on all purchases.
Yeah. That one recently showed up as the number one, which is interesting because I think the Sapphire card from somebody is the number one. But
Chase, I think Chase.
Chase, yeah, you're right. Chase, yeah, that I've got that one. I've got a few Chase, a few Citi, and they're all zero balance, by the way.
Okay.
But the one that came up,
there is a yearly fee, right, in the Sapphire. 80.
What's that?
There is a yearly fee, $80, I believe.
There could be. My Frontier card has a $79 fee too.
Yeah.
I was using that until for flying and other things like that, but after
Wells Fargo's no fee. Wells Fargo's no fee.
Yeah, Wells Fargo's no fees. If you guys subscribe to Jaspreet Singh, the Minority Mindset, that pops up in his daily feed from time to time about the credit card thing. And you're right, it was 21. I saw that and I'm like, oh crap. So that's probably the one I'm going to reach out and go look at because this card it's ran its course. It was like an 18-month 0%. And it just for me, all the reason I'm using that is because it frees up about $2,200 in cash flow for me because my utilities go on that 0% card, right? And so that utility fee is about $2,200 and somewhere in there, let's say $2,000. So that $2,000 frees up. So that $2,000 goes on the card, but then I use that $2,000 to pay down the debt that much faster. So I'd probably be about $9,000 in positive cash flow, but because I free up that cash flow, I'm about $11,000. So I can pay that $80,000 down faster. But you just got to monitor that credit card and make sure you're either paying 0% interest or paying every 30 days, which doesn't really gain you it gives you that 30 days of average daily balance savings, but you just got to do the math and see what works for you.
Been doing it for a couple of years. I love the 0%. And I've switched cards, you're going to get a ding to your credit score every 2 years if you're doing, and it's minute. It bounces right back within a few months. My thing is I don't want to pay the banks any interest if I don't have to.
Yeah. Well, my wife loves it because she's doing and all her neighborhood lady friends are doing this too, is, for travel. So we have one card we use for fuel and vehicle maintenance because it gives you 3% on that. And then we have another card that we were using for travel, but now that Frontier's wheels are falling off the planes, I'm not doing that. So we switched to Alaska.
That's a
like,
good one.
I don't
That's
know
a good one. That's a
yeah.
good one. Hey,
I was
have you thought about using, just out of curiosity, so I'll use my Saver card for food because it gives me 4% back on all meals.
Oh
I
wow.
use, yeah, I use my Sam's card because it gives me 5% cash back on any gas station, including their gas station. So if I'm traveling, I can use my Sam's credit card and get 5% cash back on that. But I use I'm very, I would say strategic with using the 0% on things of, that I want to carry longer than just the 30 days. But like gas and food, I normally pay those off every month,
Yeah.
just 30 days.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could go into the deep rabbit hole in this. I don't know if people wanted to talk about. I figured I'd bring it up so that way people would, if they wanted to reach out to me separately or you separately, or maybe we could talk and I could pull my wife in. My wife's really good at this stuff. I leverage her because she's the deal finder, and she likes to, because hey, those points, man, they're might as well use them if you can get them. Like we travel and we do
Be
stuff, and it's
be
great.
careful though, because one thing that wasn't mentioned here is eventually card companies catch on to you going and what you just described as credit card churning, and then all of a sudden those welcome and bonus offers disappear like that 0% interest.
Mm,
If because well, I don't know about other companies, but American Express does that a lot. They'll just randomly deny people bonus offers if they have like a history of like opening and closing credit cards and stuff like that. It's like, oh, this like $1,000 welcome offer. Nope, you don't get it anymore. So be
yeah.
cautioned by like, every 12 months, like taking, because eventually that might run out and they might just randomly deny you like a zero interest offer.
Yeah, that's
I think,
possible, but I mean, it's like everything else. When you go out for a loan, you're paying multiple
Yeah,
lenders. So I
well,
mean,
Nerd
I,
Wallet, if you go to
I
Nerd,
know.
you can find all the deals, and some of those other ones, you can find the deals that they're offering. I don't ever accept those pre-approvals. I go looking for the best cards, not the pre-approvals of where they're offering me. Most of the time you can find better deals with your banking and stuff. And I've been doing this since 2016 with the 0%, not the velocity banking. That's new. That's brand new. That's kind of a unique thing. But the 0%, I've always been this one. I don't like interest, and if I can, not pay it. And I used to go after, they would give 0% plus bonuses. Like they gave I think $1,000 bonus with a business credit card about 5, 6 years. I haven't seen it again. I've never seen them give $1,000, again. But one time Chase gave $1,000 business, like incentive plus 0% for like 18 months.
I think I
Sure.
may have done that. That was the one where you had to spend like 6,000 in the first 3 months or something, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
we could do that easy, right? So
Yep. Exactly.
I'm just saying, be careful because I've heard it happen. I've seen it happen to people. It seems to be most common with American Express, but be careful.
yeah, I've got American Express, but that's not used for any real estate stuff. But I haven't seen that yet. I've been doing it probably about the same time frame, 2015, 16, somewhere in there. My wife's been doing it longer than I have. But yeah. Oh, we got a chat. Oh, mine is a 5.99 right now because I did a refi. I had a 105K HELOC. Oh, the question was how much rate of interest currently on the HELOC. So my HELOC is for about 6 months is 5.99, and then it'll go back up to 7.9 or 7.5 or whatever it was or whatever the going rate is. There's a in the I'm using PNC Bank because again I'm a cheap ass, and they're only $50 a year to have the HELOC, and I thought that was pretty good and the big piece was they didn't force me to pull an initial draw. I kind of some of the other most of the other HELOCs out there were more of an annual fee, and they also required you to pull at least some amount out of the HELOC day one. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And they're like, well, just pull it out and put it back. And I was like, that's really dumb. So I started looking into the fine print, and essentially the lenders are getting, or, the banks are getting paid on that initial draw percentage. And so I thought, well, I don't want to pay them that either, even for one day. So I didn't want to do any of that. And some of them were pretty big. Some of them were like, you had to pull 100%, which was stupid. And some were 50%. And I think there was one like 25%, but even the 25%, I didn't want to pull it. So anyway, I had a 105K HELOC. I used that twice to buy houses and then paid it off. And then then I refinanced or pulled another HELOC because the equity went ballistic. So now we have a 240K HELOC on our primary residence. And so I did that because, one, I got the little 6-month intro, but at the rate, if you do velocity banking and you change the percentage from, say, 6 to 30%, if you're paying it off in a relatively short time, the percentage of the rate really doesn't matter that much. You guys are going to call BS on that. It changes it, but if you're paying it off pretty fast, it really doesn't matter the rate on an average daily balance loan if you pay it off fast. If you don't pay it off fast and it goes long, then yeah. But anyway, I did that more or less for that 5.99 or whatever, but also it changed my my debt to income, right? So I have way more credit, and then that way if I pull 100 grand or 80 grand off, it doesn't look as bad because it's not maxed out. So that's another reason I did it.
Line of credit, Jared, or is this just a HELOC? So this is not a line of credit.
Say that again. I didn't hear the
So
question.
it's not a line of so a line of credit is different than the HELOC. This is based on your equity. So it's not a line of credit. Do you have a line of credit too, or just a HELOC?
Just a HELOC. And then if you consider credit cards a line of credit, then I have multiple credit cards that are doing different things. Yeah.
Have you considered doing a line of credit versus a HELOC? So it's just based on what you can pay, what they'll loan you versus based off of your equity in your home?
I haven't, no, but I imagine the rates would be a little higher, wouldn't they?
I don't know. I guess it'd be worth looking into just to see if they're pretty similar. But some people don't have that equity built into their home, but they need a line of credit. So sometimes they can do that based on their income, not on their equity in their house. And if the interest rate's even a % difference, they can get that and work with that versus not having nothing available to them.
I might look into that. I'll look into that anyway, just so I'll have that knowledge in case somebody asks me, in case they don't have a property that they can pull a HELOC on. Because
that'd be interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. I think I'll do. Let me keep a note for that.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Why do a HELOC versus just do a home equity loan, which
it's the same thing.
Fixed rate. Same thing.
Yeah, HELOC is a home equity line of credit. HELOC.
Yeah, but isn't that a variable APR versus a fixed rate on a home equity loan?
If you can you can do a fixed rate on a home equity loan, but the rate's going to be a lot higher. Like for me, it'd be 11% if I locked it at a rate. And I'm willing to let it ride for now because I'm paying it off. That's the reason I don't typically go past, like, say, 30% of my total line of credit, is because I want to make sure my run rate, I can pay 30%. I can pay 30 grand off in about 3 months. And then I did push it to 40 because I can pay it in 4 months. And now I pushed it to 8 months. So now in the next 8 months, if the rates go up for the first, I think I have 5 or 4 or 5 months left on that 5.99 that's fixed in for that 6 months. But then after that, it's going to go to whatever the variable rate is. And that variable rate, but I could pay that off in a couple of months. And like I said, if the rates go up, it's not that big a deal if I'm paying it off in short order. And the reason I like the line of credit is, let's say the car blows up. Let's say, I don't know, something happens and I need that access to funds and I don't want to leverage something else. Then I could use the HELOC, provided the banks don't freeze it up, right? Like Matt says, during like 2008 and the whole GFC, great financial crisis, the banks did lock up, and we are seeing liquidity dry up. So that is a possibility here in the next, in the future. So you have to have some other means. Like if you're leveraging a HELOC for your reserve account, that's probably a bad idea. And by the way, I am doing that, but it's my first line of defense, and I'll use it if it's there. And then if it dries up, then I have a couple other places I can pull from. I don't want to, but so, take that with a grain of salt. Like, if your only reserve is HELOC and the banks dry up, you could be in real trouble. So it's probably not a good idea. I'm doing it because I have other ways to pull money from if I need to. So
I thought a home equity loan would be cheaper.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's like I'm financing a deal right now, and I'm trying to figure out the financing part of this. And so I was considering like a home equity loan, and then also possibly a HELOC, or I might just. So it's like So I'm trying to. I thought the home equity loan would be like the fixed rate would be less than the HELOC.
It might be, but I would really encourage you to run the math on a home equity loan where you pull the money out and you're tied into that. It's probably an amortized loan.
Yes, it's just tied in exactly. It's amortized. It's just like a lien. It's a lien on against my primary.
Yeah, second lien probably. Or
no, first. I mean, I don't. Yeah, yes. I guess technically it'd be a second lien.
Second lien. Now I wouldn't do this, but there are first lien HELOCs. I wouldn't do that if you have a large amount, because if the rates, like you said, the rates change, it wouldn't matter if it was a longer loan, right? So if you had, I know a guy that did this, but his cash flow is ridiculous. So he, I would never do that. I wouldn't take a first lien HELOC on a property to do the whole amount unless you own that property outright. This is me, by the way. I mean, people do it, but I would take a first lien HELOC and probably not use it much unless I had to on a property that I owned outright. And there's two reasons for that. One, I'd have that liquidity there if I needed it. And if it dried up, no big deal. But two, you have a loan on that property, meaning if somebody tries to steal title or whatnot, you have another line of defense, which is the bank itself protecting itself, which is probably a lot better than you or I or anybody else could do on our own. Right? Like you heard the story about David Green, where he had 30 properties in Florida get stolen from him and everything went to crap because he had them all paid off. Right. And if you have a property paid off, which is, it's good. It's not leverage appreciation or depreciation. So in me in growth mode, I don't want to do that. I don't think I ever want to pay off any properties, maybe get it down to 30% loan to value or something. But I like that idea too. So that's another possibility. So.
Is there any limit on how much amount will be approved by the bank on HELOC? Considering the equity?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the equity, like let's say you had a $500,000 house and let's say you owe 400,000 on it. They're not going to give you that 100,000, right? They're going to give you, every bank has a different loan to value amount. Some, back in the day, you could probably get 95% loan to value. You're not going to get that today. I think 80% is kind of the average is what I'd say. So you could, let's say, you had that $500,000, you had, what would that be? You'd probably pull out like 70, 80 grand out of that 100 grand, depending on if it's 80% or 75%. I've seen both 75% loan to value and 80% loan to value, whatever the math works out to be.
The follow-on question is, I think the conversation is more around pulling HELOC from primary residence. Have you seen HELOC being pulled out of investment property if there is an equity?
Yeah, that's become more common in like the last 5 years. I even think Zuber's, what is it? Convoy Home Loans does that too, something like that. I don't know for sure. I haven't looked into that. I just pulled it off the primary because I had the most equity out of that, and the two investment properties that I have equity in, I had a prepayment penalty, and I didn't look into it. I've passed the prepayment penalty now, so now I can refinance. So now I'm kind of hoping to get the rates to come down. But I know they're out there. I haven't done one. So
if you have to compare with your experience between DSCR on investment or HELOC on investment property to pull out the equity, which one you will choose?
To me, it's two different things. Like a DSCR loan's 30-year fixed rate debt. And a HELOC is, the way I use it, is simply to pay down debt in a short amount of time, typically 6 months, but I am pushing it a little bit and I'm doing 8 months on this one. Maybe I didn't understand the question. What was the?
If there is an equity in the house and we have an option, should we pull out? What is your recommendation if you have to do it? Would you pull out through HELOC, that equity, or you will go to the bank and request for DSCR loan for that equity?
Oh, you mean to like cash out refi?
Cash out refi, yeah.
For me, I like the HELOC because it depends. Like my personal home, I have a 2.25% rate on there, right? And I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Hell, I'm actually making money if you consider inflation on my house payments, because I'm under inflation. I don't care what the Fed or whoever says, like, 3%. I mean, I'm still making that percentage, but I'm telling you, it's more than that. But anyway, So I like the HELOC depending on the rate you have on the house, because I don't want to refi. I can't cash out refi. I don't want to. Right? I don't want to come into 7% rate on the house with a loan left on it. It's like it's all depends on your circumstance, right? But I've got two properties, one at 7.5, one at 7.65, and they both have a couple $100,000 in equity in them. So I could probably get a 80 to 100K on those. Now I think that those are investment properties. The investment properties, they may or may or not, they'll probably be lower on the loan to value. So I think it's like 75% I would guess, I don't know this, but probably a little bit, because on a primary, there's more security there because, you're living in it, right? Whereas the investment property, if something goes south, the banks and the lenders are like, they might walk away or whatever. I mean, that's just me spitballing. So I think they'll do like probably a 75. If you've been around for a while and you got a bunch of money in the bank or whatever, maybe they'll go 80, whatever. But the rates are going to be just a little bit higher on an investment property versus your primary as well. At least from what I heard. I haven't taken out anything on an investment property. That's what I've heard.
And I'm assuming that investment property, if it is an LLC, still HELOC is possible.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine.
So you recommend Convoy home loans? We should talk to them.
I don't recommend them. I'm just saying I've heard that they do lines of credit HELOCs on investment properties. I don't know that to be true. I think that's what I remember, but I haven't actually done one, so I can't recommend anybody. Maybe somebody on here can. I don't know.
Thanks for the information.
Yeah.
I had a question. So for investment properties, is it always 25% down? Because that's been it just started this process. So that's, and I'm trying to buy this property, right? And it's like, first shot at it was the bank was like, okay, your number looks great, fine, looks perfect. It was, I think, $300,000 property. And they were like, you're gonna have to bring $60,000 to the closing.
Yeah, so back in the day, I mean, I didn't do it then, but I know that you could do 15%, but that's gone, right? Nowadays, yes. Things are crazy. So the best you're going to see, I think, is 20%, unless you're somebody like Matt, who's been around for a quarter of a century, and he's got relationships with credit unions and banks. I think he had mentioned he gets decent deals because he's a known quantity, he's an operator, that kind of thing. But for us normal humans,
that's what I am.
I think the best you're going to get is 20. Now, I will say that for me, being that I was a novice investor in year one, for the first DSCR loan, I had to put 25% down. Even that was a little sketchy because the only reason I think they did it was I had money in the bank and I had, equity. I had places I could pull money and yada, yada. And so they let me do the 25% down, even as a novice investor. And then I came to them a month later and said, hey, I want to do it again. And they're like, dude, you're crazy, because I wasn't an operator. I didn't even have a year under my belt. I still haven't filed tax returns. I had to file an extension. And so from a lender's point of view, I'm still in year one, but the second DSCR I had to put 30% down. And that hurt. Like I was $500,000 property. So the first one was 105 grand. The second one was 130 grand. And that was just the down payment. I still had, closing costs. And now I did get seller concessions that helped out. Yeah.
So I figured a way around it, but I couldn't do that. I couldn't bring $60,000-$70,000 to the closing. So it's like, I got to figure out a different way of doing this.
Well, after you network with, how that old saying about your network is your net worth. That's where like the ORAC community and other, like the events you go to and you meet people. Now, I haven't borrowed any money from a private money lender, but I've been the private money lender. And so I've got this guy, Ralph Pombo. If he calls me up and says, hey, I need 100 grand, dude, no problem. 12% is a low rate, really. I mean, a lot of people are lending for 15% for 6 months. It's kind of ridiculous in my book. Even 12% is kind of crazy because that's a 24% annualized return, if you're doing under 6 months. But he's such a good operator that, we have that connection. I've never met the man in person, but I've been lending to him for 1.5 years, 2 years now. And the guy is just he's a flipper and he's really smart. He's just super, super smart. I really like this guy. So what I'm getting at is, if you go to these events and network with people and find people that are private money lender, have money, a lot of people, like what I call a whale, there's people out there, believe it or not. I mean, they're rare, but they have a shit ton of money and they're just looking for places to put it. There's a guy named Eric Fuller. The dude's 27 years old and retired, right? He's done. He loans money to like NFL players and stuff, right? And so he's been doing kind of like the Cody guy, just not very, he's not out there. He just did his thing and then retired. He lives in Brazil now, right? And so he just lends money on the side, and he's doing like mortgage loans, right? For $1.5 million, things like that. So he's what I would consider a whale, even though he's young. Most of those people are older. So you go to these events, you can talk. We got a guy here locally in Oregon, Metzger. David Metzger is his name. By the way, there's a town named Metzger for anybody that's Oregon. He probably owns the damn town. The guy's like 90 and he still cold calls, right? The guy is, and he runs the Northwest RIA meeting, and now it's in Lake Oswego and sometimes it's in Beaverton, but the guy's like through and through a real estate. He loves real estate. And I don't know what the guy's net worth is, but he is a lender, but he only does Oregon, and I don't invest in Oregon. So there you go. But there's people like that you can network with over time. And if you're a known quantity, like if you're a reliable person with good financials and you're willing to share your financials, by the way, and also there's also private money lenders that will do second position loans. I've done that. Those are rarer still, but those are the folks that are going to want to look at your first lien position loan, like, because a lot of the hard money loans that people are using to flip and do things like that, they'll have a clause in that contract that says, hey, if everything goes south, not only do you have to pay back the X amount and whatever interest, but it's also a 20% tag on top of that. See, that's why the second position lenders are going to look at that to make sure that, hey, if you get squeezed, you can't make it, that equity that you thought you had, 20% of that equity goes away or whatever. So the second lien position gets screwed. So that's, anyway. But yeah, networking with people is another avenue for that. Can really, you use other people's money from banks, but you have to qualify, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. Whereas like a private money lender, if they know you, they're going to ask duration. They're going to tell you their rate typically, duration, rate, and then penalty fees, and then what's the lien position, right? Like if it's a first lien position, you got a lot better. Like if you get a property to the point where it's got a lot of equity or it's paid off, that looks really attractive to a private money lender. I've thought about doing that on one of my properties because I could pay off a property in about 2.5 years with the velocity banking. That's $300,000. But the way I look at it is I have to look at the money that I would spend to pay that off versus the money where I could probably buy 3 or 4 properties with that same amount of money. So my opportunity cost is not worth it to me, at least now. In the future, once I run out of money, then I might do that so I could have a a paid for house that I could leverage for the private money loans, because I know that looks super attractive, being from that space.
I never thought about that, but yeah, I've got it figured out now. But it's a mix of since I've got my primary pretty much paid off, I can use that like a bank account basically. Yeah. And I'll just buy it. The deal is good enough that I'll put the money down, purchase it, and resell it here. So that's the plan. Is like using it. I guess I'm going to use a fixed loan equity loan to basically buy the property, and then probably a HELOC or something to do the work, the fixer up work.
Yeah. Well, if you do get that property paid off, I would add to your evaluation sheet the first lien HELOC. That way, just to throw it in the mix with, loans or whatever else you're doing. So Flavio's asking, how do you deal with parking? Flavio, I'm assuming you're talking about co-living houses. I typically buy corner lots, so in street parking, but also I obviously like 3-car garages. We have 3 carports. At one of my houses, I've got a 3-car on a side. It's kind of a corner lot. And then I have a long street. I could there could be 16 cars there and it won't be in front of another neighbor. So or if I do what I call sandwich homes, where they're in between 2 other houses and there's not a lot of parking there, across the street, sometimes there'll be like a park or a house that's turned the other way and there's like a long concrete wall or something that nobody's going to care about. Those can work also. That's how I deal with parking. I don't buy a house that doesn't have any parking. Well, take that back. I did buy one, but I got it for 120 grand off. So it was worth the risk and it's worked out really well. So all right. What do people want to talk about? Sorry to jump into some strange stuff. It's just been coming up more and more and more. And I just figured I'd throw it out there. So if somebody wanted to engage later, I love I never knew I liked finances till about 2, 3 years ago. Not to this level. I'm geeking out on this stuff pretty badly. So I like it. Hey Jim, how's it going?
Pretty good.
I love the grumpy man. That's pretty cool.
Is it still backwards or is it
No,
correct?
it's good. It's good. Do you
Okay.
have a QR code? Or you probably right, you don't have a website. If you have a QR code and you're doing these things, the videos people see, they could scan your QR code during the video and then contact you if you wanted it. If you don't, then I wouldn't worry
Gotcha.
about it.
No, I'm trying. First, I got to get a couple videos posted.
Well, I mean, it could be anything. The QR code could point to your email address or
That's-
a website.
Oh, so that's what you're talking about, what you have above your head.
Yeah. I use the Blink. For those of you that go to physical events, the Blink, BLINQ, I use that. I put all my information in there, and that way you hold it up and someone can scan it. That way they have your information and you don't have to sit there and type in phone numbers and write names and all that. Not only that, it has everything on mine anyway. I have YouTube, Instagram, phone number, email, blah, 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 all that crap. That QR code I have up in the corner there, I don't remember what that goes to be honest, but it's I think it's, I don't know, probably my YouTube channel. I don't know. I'm gonna scan it real quick while we're on here just to see what it does because I don't remember. There we go. All right, what do people want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm currently placing some orders on Wayfair because they got a monster sale, and then they get another 15% from Minoan.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, so I'm trying before that sale's over. I want to get that stuff out.
Hey, my QR code's not working for me. Oh, there it goes. Oh, it takes me to the Blink thing. Okay, that works. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have seen the Blink app. Oh, what? Oh, come on. I'm gonna put my face in there so it recognizes it. Come on. Lame. Oh, there it goes. That's horrible. Come on, really? It's like invisibling the. All right,
Put your finger on the screen.
put my finger on the screen. Oh, here,
Yeah.
let me. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like,
yeah,
oh, that's a good trick. Yeah. Here,
Oh, did it work? Yeah,
now
it
let me
must
turn this stupid background thing off. Video. I don't know why I did that. Well, I did. Oh, I did it for the picture thing. All right, I'm wasting time there. Never mind. I'll figure that out later. Oh, there we go. Well, that's blurring though. Well, that's turning it completely off. See you guys.
Fun.
Anyway, I'll figure it out later. All right. So what are other people doing? What do they got cooking these days? Oh, there it goes. Thank you.
There you go.
Oh,
A
whoops.
little, it's out of focus, but
There we go. Here we go. I'll do it. Come on, you darn thing. Anyway, you can see it gives whatever. Screw it.
Does it send you to, does it, when somebody does that QR code, does it kick them to their website? Because I've had a problem with a couple of those.
It depends on what the QR code's targeted. It's like you can send it anywhere, right? You just generate a QR code and then it sends it to where you want it, like a website, or in my case, the Blink thing. It's just like a link, really.
it's a link. Yeah, it's a physical link. It's like basically the QR code's like a URL.
Yeah.
It sends you to a site.
Here we go. Back in action. All right. Any big projects out there?
Debating on whether I'm going to place an offer on another house on Monday.
Don't you have 2 right now?
Yep.
Well, I mean, you're self-employed. You can get away with that.
Yeah, but then that really puts me in a stress position. But it's a really good deal. It's an auction, so I'd have to get it.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm really debating right now. I want to do it just because I'll make 80 grand on it.
Could you pick it up and sit on it for a while you're working on the other 2?
No, I'll work on all 3 of them. It's 10 minutes away, or not even that, it's 5 minutes away from the other houses. So I just send one of my guys over there to start working on that while we're working on other stuff.
Oh, there you go. If you got a crew, man.
I have 5 people. So yeah, that's what I'm currently trying to do is I want to switch everything over to this. If I can get to that point where I have some private money coming in, I'm going to move everything over to this. It is way more productive. Because right now, honestly, my remodel jobs are killing me. I don't have time to go deal with those. I'm not making anywhere near as much money as I will be on this properties.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's my tough part right now. And I need that cash flow from that remodel stuff, but it's like, man, I'm gonna make so much more money on the other end.
Yeah.
So tough, that's the tough part.
I don't know about you guys, but it's not tough, but it's interesting. Like, you know how you get to a certain point and you don't change your lifestyle. That's the key. I didn't change our lifestyle at all. Matter of fact, I brought it down. We're thinner than we used to be. We used to spend money and go stupid. Not horrible. We were good at, budgeting and doing things, but we brought that down a level. And then the delta, like I said, is like 10, 11 grand. So, and my wife just found that out about a week ago. She didn't know that. She thought, oh, we're doing these properties. She didn't know any details about the data and the money. I was like, yeah, babe, we got like 10, 11 grand positive cash flow that we just put right in the HELOC. She's like, what? And so I'm like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that out loud. We did good. We went to the mall yesterday and we didn't buy anything. We did go out to dinner for her birthday, but that was about it. So.
Well, see, that's one thing I'm not doing. I have to keep taking my trips because I work too many hours between. If I don't, because I don't take weekends off.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I don't have those trips, I'll go nuts.
That's brutal, man.
Yeah, you have to have a release. You have to do something or you'll just get burnt out.
Yeah. I might on the fringes getting a little burned out, but I spend all my time watching YouTube videos on real estate. I've been doing this like 2 years now.
Yeah.
And I still love it. I still like real estate, but you're right. You need a little release. And also for me, I need to be cognizant of, I have 3 kids. Well, one's going off to college, so 2 kids still around. And spending time with them and make sure I'm not a total psycho, just focused on money and real estate. So there's a balance, right? I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, my youngest is 24.
So I was off for a few minutes. Jared, did you get your construction started on your?
Yeah, man, they're cruising too. They told me 4 to 5 weeks about a week and a half ago. And I thought, okay, I got time. They've got everything's framed, sheetrocked. I mean, all I got to do is mud and texture and paint. And I'm like, oh crap, because I hadn't planned on going down for a little while. And also, I don't know if you guys, my what do you call it? My passport expired, and you can't fly past May 7th. At least I don't know if it's nationwide.
Oh, you don't have the real ID.
Yeah, I haven't got the real ID yet.
Oh, yeah,
So
gotta go get the real ID.
I gotta go get it, but I've heard the DMV is backed up like 2 months. I'm like, oh shit. So I'll go in and sit there all day and see if I can't get it because I don't think it takes that long. But if I can't get it, my ass is driving to Phoenix.
Hey, try one of those ones that are smaller communities.
Yeah, my wife.
Yeah, if you go in and look at all the ones that are like have no people that live there or pretty much, nobody cares. Maybe you might be able to get in one of their appointments earlier.
Yeah. So I was going to go see what it looks like on Monday, tomorrow. And if it's horrible, I know when I used to buy and sell a lot of trailers and cars and things like that. So I happen to know that in my area, Wednesdays are the best days to go. I did a lot of like they know me at the DMV. I did that for 15 years. And so anyway, just I don't know why, for fun, just for the hell of it. But yeah, so Wednesday's probably the best day to go. So I'll go see what it's like Monday and then get a judge. And maybe you have to have an appointment for that. I don't know. But yeah, my wife just brought that up. I'm like, oh crap, this is coming up pretty fast. So I might drive out to the Dalles, which is 2 hours away, and go see my dad because he's out there in a nursing home, and then see if I can get in there and do because there's population like 10,000 people.
They literally probably get in the same day. Yeah. Same in Minnesota. They said the lines are like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then you're not even guaranteed. And then they've got people walking because like through the lines, because you have to have certain pieces of ID and they're waiting in line and then getting up there and finding out they can't get it because they don't got the right information. So, I got mine back when so I didn't renew my license in Minnesota. I kept my Oregon driver's license until literally 3 days before it expired. And I went to one place and they said, oh, no, you need this other piece. And you can go to the DMV near you, but it's like a 3-hour wait. So I was like, oh gosh, I'll be back here. It's probably a 1 hour turnaround, but I'll be back here. I'll bring my stuff. So I did. I literally drove home and drove back, and I got my license literally 3 days before it was expiring for Minnesota. So I had my Oregon driver's license for 4 years in Minnesota. I do not recommend it. If I ever got pulled over, I probably would have got a ticket.
Yeah. So Kevin says, how far in advance do you book your flights to Arizona? So a smart person would probably do that. I try to do it as much in advance as I can. My wife always gets on me about this, but you know, to be realistic, it's usually about a week or two out, and I do pay more. But with the Frontier that I was doing, wasn't that big a deal. But now I'm doing Alaska because I'm not getting on a plane that falls apart. It's more expensive. So it's that's horrible of me, I know. So you should do it as far out as you can. I should have booked this flight a while ago, but with you know, I don't know if you guys know, I work at Intel and I'm a manager there, and so you guys have probably seen the Bloomberg article. And actually, you know, Zuber mentioned this in his financial thing this morning that Intel should take care of their own house and that, you know, they're laying off 20,000 people. That's not actually true. That's just what Bloomberg said. But they are laying off. But it's not 20,000 people. The CEO and the CFO told the business units, just in case you guys are Intel curious or whatever, told the business units that basically the directors to handle their own shop, right? And so who knows? It could be 20,000. I don't think so. We just had 15. It's actually more than 15,000 layoff. There's 15,000 people that were separated. They call it CPM. They change the name every time because they got to sound cool.
Are you in the Hillsborough one?
Global. Yeah, 15%.
Okay. Yeah, my brother-in-law works as a manager at Intel, not in IT. I think you're IT. He's in marketing or something like that, but he's been there for years. And yeah, he was telling me that he's fearing a layoff. So I don't know what's going on in his department that there's that fear of that. Hey, let me tell you this. You know that you are traveling so much to Arizona. There is an app that my real estate agent gave me. It's called Skiplagged, Skiplagged. It's an app, and it can get you flights, like short notice flights at deals. So, and they're through the regular airline. So it's called, again, it's Skiplagged.
I got it written. Skiplagged.
Okay.
Skiplagged.
Yeah, look that up. I got a flight to Arizona from Minnesota for like $137 round trip, which was only 4 days before I flew.
Wow. There you go, Kevin. Check
Yeah,
into that.
look into that if you're looking for a deal.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was flying to, I wouldn't go down to Spirit. I tried that once. I didn't even fit on the plane. Like I'm 6 foot, you know, about 220, well, 225. Okay. But bigger than the normal, you know, person or some other people. And I just didn't fit on the Spirit. So the next cheapest flight I could actually fit on was Frontier. And I've been flying that for a couple of years now. But I, in the news and everything, dude, I'll just, you know, I don't need to save $100. I want to get there and stay alive. So I'll just do I'm scared of flying. I know that sounds dumb. But I don't like flying. But I have to, right? It's a necessary evil. So can you put in the chat the code? Code for what, Flavio? Flavio, you said put in the chat the code. The code for what?
Does he want the app?
Oh, the app is, I can
Yeah, it was the app.
Okay, it's just called Skiplagged. I'll put it in.
Skiplagged is the name, and that's an app. Okay, cool. I'll have to check that out. Generally flying United, Alaska, maybe their first 3 to 5. Oh man, I pissed off. I have 2 Alaska credit cards, and one of them I haven't used forever, but the other one, I forget the thing. It was a good one. They had a pretty high percentage, and I called to lock it because there was no way to lock it in the app, and they canceled the card. I was like, shit. I didn't want to cancel. I just wanted to lock it and pause it. I've paused all my cards. And if you guys don't know, this might help somebody too. You can freeze all 3 credit bureaus.
My husband does. He recommends it. Yeah, he's
I do too.
Yeah, you're IT, so you know what he's IT, and that's the first thing he told me. He's like, tell me when you need me to unlock it, because we just got utilities in Arizona, and they run the credit so that you don't have to pay a deposit. And I'm like, you need to freeze all your credit. And he's like, why? And I said, because we got to get the utilities transferred over. Yeah, so he just flew Delta to Houston on Wednesday and came back on Thursday. His flight got delayed where they literally didn't fly him out till the next day on Friday. So he literally had to stay overnight, and Delta put him up in a hotel. He checked in and checked right out because it was like a dive.
Oh
He's
yeah,
like,
they do that. Yeah.
oh my gosh, they are so horrible. And then they want a review. And he's like, oh yeah, you want me to give you a review? I'm going to give you a really good review.
Yeah. Frontier did that to us once a year ago. And I think we found out later that the pilot just didn't show up and they couldn't get a replacement. So we stood there for like 3-4 hours and they finally got us a hotel and a credit and all that. And we got to the hotel and we were there for about an hour. I got in the shower and then showered and that was it. And we turned around and went back to the airport and we flew out like 4 hours later. But yeah, the hotels are sketchy.
First neighborhoods.
Yeah, the three credit bureaus are My Equifax, MYEQUIFAX, and then Experian, EXPERIAN, and then TransUnion, TRANSUNION. And you go to those three, and you can go right on their website and lock them. And what I do is I have them locked at all times. And if I buy a house or if I'm applying for a credit card, I'll go. Each one of them has a thaw or unfreeze for a certain amount of time, and I usually do like probably 2 weeks if it's a credit card, whatever time frame you think, and then it'll automatically lock. So if you forget, it'll lock itself. That's how I've been doing it. That's kind of neat.
So when are you planning on advertising your Rent by the Room in your Gilbert house?
Oh, as soon as I can get pictures taken, or I have it all kind of drafted up a little bit. But the cool, this is, it must be for a reason, but apartments.com is now doing rent by room, which is cool, right? Because Zillow has it, but Zillow.
Did you hear Brandon Turner just bought one in Florida, Rent by the Room, like you're doing? He has never done that before, and he just did a thing with Cody, and on their podcast or whatever, that coffee something. He said, yeah, his first house he bought a month ago in Florida to Rent by the Room. I was like, oh, you're following Jared.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's really getting, they're calling it the new Airbnb. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I mean, the cash flow is just stupid, right? Like I don't know any better. So all I've ever done is I've never done long-term rentals. I don't know anything about it. So all I've ever done is the co-living. So for me, it's just, I guess, kind of natural, and that's how my systems are set up and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't realize a lot of the differences between, I mean, cash flow is the big one, right? Like a couple $100 versus $2,000. Yeah, I'm going to take the $2,000. But you have, as I said before, Matt mentions this in his videos, like you got to what's right for you. So with the co-living, there's some stuff there unless you mitigate it over time, which I have. But in the beginning, you got a lot of bullshit, right? Matt calls it the bullshit to income ratio. He was in some thing somewhere, maybe it was an ORAT. I remember him saying, oh, you got long-term rentals, you got midterm rentals, you got the short-term, and then you got Jared over there who's doing co-living, and there's a high bullshit to income ratio, which is true. But I've learned how to mitigate that. I probably get 2-3 calls, maybe 4 calls a month now, which isn't bad relative to a lot of other hosts, because the vetting process, I'm very direct, I guess you'd say, up front. And I basically tell people, hey, look, if you're not clean, if you don't do these things, then this isn't for you. And I lose 10-15% of the potentials that are ready to go. But the way I see it is I avoid a nightmare versus bringing somebody in that will tank the rest of my members. So that's why I do it. That's cool. I'll have to go find that Brandon Turner one.
Yeah, I think it was posted a month ago, like 1 month ago.
Okay.
1 month ago. And yeah, when I was listening to it, I was like, and Cody doesn't really, he does invest. He's doing some ADUs, I guess, in California, but his person that always sits beside him, he's like, doesn't have any investment. I think he does stocks or something. And he was asking Brandon a lot of questions because they were in Hawaii. So if you find it, they're in Hawaii. They're like, he's interviewing him from Brandon's house in Hawaii. And I was like, and he was like, I'm impressed. I know Brandon, has a lot of experience in this, doing this for years. And he has his own podcast and, same as Cody and stuff. And what did he say he had? He said he had like 1,300 doors. And I was like, oh yeah, he's way bigger than I ever plan on getting. If I get 10 doors, I'll be glad. But it's kind of nice to listen to their different perspectives. And when he started out, he was a house hacker. He basically lived in the house and rented out rooms. And so that's how he was, started his journey. So
Cody who?
Cody, I can't think of Cody's last name. It's called the coffee,
Coffee, iced coffee hour? I don't know.
Iced coffee. You just said it, iced coffee. Yes, that's it. And if it's him interviewing Brandon Turner. So if you look at the iced coffee.
Oh, that's Graham Stephan.
Yeah, that's
Graham Stephan. Okay, yes. Yeah. So and he's pretty, he's young looking in the face. I don't think he's as young as he actually looks. He looks like a little kid,
he's short. We saw him at the ORAD event. That was.
Oh, did you?
I did not know he was that short. Yeah.
Oh, he was fun to, listen to, and they had great questions in this, because this was a little over an hour, like interview with him and stuff. But I found it really interesting just to learn some of the things that Brandon had done over time, because now he does syndicates, of course, and he's got apartment complexes, and he does, raising money through investors to purchase property. But he's scaling back. A lot of them that scale up so fast, they start realizing that scaling up doesn't necessarily mean more money. And so, listening to him say that he was scaling back in order to basically make more money, that he could get a handle on things, was, I think it's the same thing that Zuber said that he did when he figured out that getting to a certain point was great, but it didn't make him any more money.
Yeah. I'm going to share this real quick. So I don't know if you guys watch the Real Wealth Show with Kathy Fedke. I like some of her stuff. And so I catch it from time to time. And this one caught my eye because it had the velocity banking in it. I'll share the link at the 13-minute mark, where this guy's talking about how, he's talking about how he started off with single families and then small multifamily, and then he got into syndication and lost a ton of money. But then he learned about velocity banking and infinity banking. And so anyway, I put the link in there in case someone wants to watch that. And I put it at the 12:55 mark, because I think at a 13-minute mark is where they start talking about velocity banking. So they don't explain it really well, but it's just interesting to me that that's showing up in some of the bigger podcasts. I think it's kind of cool. Sorry, off topic, but I was looking for it and finally found it. All right. We got Giancarlo in the Aurora Borealis. It's pretty cool.
That's great. I can change it.
No, I like it. That's killer.
Yeah, there's a general question about, I'm looking for a general contractor to do this work on this house. It's like, does anybody have any experience with, or, good or bad experiences with, like, how to find somebody to partner with? I mean, I will do some of it, but I won't have time to do all of it. I'll have to hire somebody.
What I do, I know Jim's a general contractor on here, and I don't know if anybody else is, but what I do is I don't do Google searches. I don't look at any of that stuff. I talk to other investors in the area and ask them who they've actually used, not a recommendation. I ask them, hey, have you used so-and-so? And surprisingly, a lot of them were pretty bad. I guess it's not surprising, but
yeah, no, it's not surprising. That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah,
because I'm terrified of hiring somebody.
Well, I go down to Arizona quite a bit, and I've even toured some of the houses that were actively under construction. And that was like, no freaking way. Like, walls are all wine and just, crappy work. And so, I've had good luck with talking to people that I know. And again, your network is your net worth, that kind of thing, for service recommendations, like cleaning ladies and handymen and electricians and all that stuff. And so I've networked with other other investors that do what I do. And that's how I've got my contractors. And I'm going to knock on some wood here. I'm going to say, in general, they've been good. Like, I can't complain. Like the first one I had, because I'd heard all the horror stories about somebody not doing this and doing that, and issues and all that. It wasn't perfect, but it was like 95% done pretty well. There was some trim work that I didn't agree with. Like, they'd walled in the doorway that came into the kitchen from the former dining room. They'd walled it off. The wall was fine, but the trim on the floor, I don't know. This is nitpicky, but they just put a piece of trim in there. I was like, man, wouldn't you just replace the 10-foot section of trim so it doesn't look stupid? That's nitpicky.
I'm just looking for very good and within cost.
They came in on time, on budget, and that's because the other, they know some of the contractors do a lot of investor work. Some don't do any investors. Some hate investors, right? Because some investors will nitpick, and Jim could probably comment on this. Like, I want to pay them. I want everybody to win, right? I don't mind paying. Matter of fact, I went and got 3 or 4 bids on the first property, all of them from recommendations from other hosts. And the one that I chose wasn't the cheapest, and it wasn't the most expensive. It was the guy in the middle, and it was more or less because I liked the guy. And it seemed like he was pretty honest and straightforward. So I went with him, and he was. He came in on time, on budget. And I even, Jim, you probably hate this, but I threw in a couple extra things there midstream, like, hey, I want to swap out the floors here, the kind of stuff like that. I'm sure contractors don't like that. And he didn't like beat me up. He just said, okay, it'll be this, blah, blah, blah. And so we established that relationship. I thought it was really good. He, on time, on budget, no real issues, some nitpicky crap that I had my handyman come through and fix, So I was really happy. But here's where I made the mistake. The next house I didn't get the 3 bids like Dion says. He says he always gets at least 3 bids. I didn't do that. I thought, well, hey, this guy was great. I'm going to use him again. Well, I've said this before, but the 9th day of my 10-day inspection, I flew down there and the contractor was there. And I typically try to maximize my time when I fly somewhere for like a week or whatever. So I had my inspection, the contractor, my agent, everybody was there. It's a little crowded, I guess, but it's a big house, and went through and everything. And then he gave me the bid, and it was 3x the normal bid. And I was like, what the hell? And so I ended up having to kill that contract because I couldn't find another contractor in time to give me a bid. And I wanted to get that done within the 10-day inspection period. So I screwed up. Ended up being a good thing because I ended up doing it again. But what's that?
You ever find him on Marketplace?
I haven't. No, I've never looked there. I'm one of those people that if it's not broke, don't fix it. I just keep networking with I go to the local AZ areas, even the Arizona real estate investor groups and the Phoenix investor.
Oh, you belong to that one?
Yeah, I go to those a lot. I go to the sub 2 meetups on Friday in Scottsdale, talk to the Bash Bros. And
I went through my real estate agent to get, the 3 houses that I have here in Arizona, each one of them have had their share of, obstacles. This last one has a bee infestation.
I have one of those right now.
Contractor will take care of that.
Oh, it's so fun. Yeah. Yeah. So
pest control.
we actually got them to concede to paying for the repair and stuff and the remediation of it. But so I had my real estate agent give me, he's like, oh yeah, he invests. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll give you, this guy that I work with. And he gave me a bid on closing in this wall that we wanted to make a dining room into a bedroom because it was already an office. The homeowner had made it into an office, but didn't do it properly. So we wanted to make sure it was properly done. And he gave me a bid and I was like, that's way more than it should be. So I called my real estate guy back again. I said, hey, that was like, can you get him to come down? And he's like, no, I think he's pretty tight. But he's like, hey, I got my painter guy. He does sheetrock and he's done, some small jobs for me. Do you want him to come out and give you a bid? I says, oh yeah. Have him come out. I'll be there. So he came out and I talked to him and we went over everything. Half the cost. And I was like,
do a good job.
Yep. He did
Nice.
an amazing job. And he was half. And I was like, now, do you trust him? I keep thinking about what you just said. Do you trust them to do your next job without any bids? No, you're right. Get bids and make sure that because you've got to keep them in check. Maybe one job they were in between and they wanted a job and needed some money coming in. So they bid a little low, but maybe the next one, they've got 10 jobs going on and you're just like at the bottom of their barrel and they're going to give you a high bid.
Yeah. And I'm not knocking them. Hey, it's business. That's fine. The thing is though, what it did for me is, I was planning on using them over and over and over again on every damn house I did. But I'm kind of glad it happened in a way. Cause now, I got experience with another contractor and it was okay, but his subcontractor, his floor guy sucked, but everything else was good. So I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. Lost City.
So my real estate agent said something about the floors in Arizona that he's like, and so every house that I went into, I like actually walk out if it has these, those LVP.
LVP. Yeah.
So I don't even buy a house if it has it, because he said that they're having problems in Arizona with those floors and the proper installation of them, because all of the floors here are concrete. So they're either going over the tile or they're ripping this out and not leveling the concrete before they do it. And he'll walk in there and he'll say, "Did you feel that snapping?" He's like, "That's a problem. That's a problem." And I was like, okay, so don't even give me a house that has that. I don't even want to look at a house that has that. So
Yeah, if it's done right though, like, I think it's the way to go. Like carpet. Now, I'm saying this, and I did just leave carpet in the top floor of this house because it was brand new. And I know that's probably a mistake in a year or two.
no, it's not. No. But you can do it down the road once they ruin that carpet.
Yeah, but the problem with that is, with the strategy that I'm doing, I've got 8 people in the house, right? And so what do I do with the people in if let's say it's rented, right? And I have, let's see, it's going to be 1, 2, it'll be 3 people, so it won't be the end of the world, but I'll have to figure out something to do with those 3 people while I'm doing the floors, for a couple of nights, maybe put them in a hotel, something like that. So I don't know. I just figured, it's brand new carpet. Screw it. I'm going to run with it and then make some money first and then come back and do it later. And I'll just deal with it.
I think you're doing the right thing. I would not rip it out if it was brand new carpet.
Yeah. I was actually like, damn it. I wish they didn't do that. I wish they would have, left it, whatever it was, because it just got done because they were selling the house. It's like, oh man. Oh, well.
No, I think you're going to make money on that. I think down the road, if you do have to put them up for a couple of days, it's really not. I mean, 3 people, that can't be that much. And if you do it right, carpet people can get in, or, well, if you do any other flooring, obviously carpet can be done in a day. Other flooring might take a couple days. So you're right. You might put them up for 2 days.
A couple, 2, 3 days. That's what I'm guessing. But yeah, you got to watch it. Like leveling compound, I think is what I don't know. Maybe Jim can comment, but I don't know if he does concrete floors, but I think there's like a leveling compound if you do it one way. And then I know one thing that does not work is if you have somebody who glues it down, or that's a mistake, right? Like, I don't know, but I think the kind that snap together maybe and float a little bit might be good. I don't know, because that's what I've had in the other house.
Levelers out there. You have cement based levelers, you have gypsum based levelers. It just depends on what you're doing. Yeah, and then click and lock's the best. So just like Matt was saying, just make sure your wear layer is pretty high. You want a commercial grade rather than residential grade.
Yeah. Do you know what the recommendation is in Arizona, Jared?
Is it 3/8?
Because we have low humidity. I mean, we're dry, but we get hot.
What's it in California, Jim, for the thickness and the wear level?
It just depends on the brand you're looking at. You just want the thickest wear level you can get. The problem that she's talking about is you have a moisture condition on the slab, because sometimes you have to epoxy that floor.
I don't think it's you in Arizona just because we have a dry climate.
Yeah,
I think it's more. Yeah, I think you're good on that. I think it's just that here's the thing, because I would say I don't know if you've experienced this with any of the houses you bought in Arizona, but they have those. Remember I told you they stamped the concrete in the garage with this thing that says they have these rods underneath and you can't drill through the concrete. So my thing is there's movement in Arizona with the ground. So why they self-level or why you'll see cracks. So there is a house that I was looking at. It's in the court system, so I won't touch it with a 10-foot pole, but we couldn't figure out why they weren't dropping the price, but it was overpriced and it was on the market for like 200 days. And I'm like, why is it on the market for so long? Why is there no floors in it? And should there, because they literally, you can see cracks. Is that an issue? And he says, well, you can see that they obviously don't have that suspension in the flooring. And that's why that cracking's happening. And he says, it's a court. So the court's taking it over and there's some legality there about buying it. And I'm like, they haven't came down on the price in months. And I said, well, why would you get involved in that? And he says, well, I wouldn't. He's like, obviously I wouldn't. But we were talking about the flooring, and, if the price was right, you could get in there. And he says, yeah, that's where it comes into, if they don't self-level that floor, you're going to see that movement in that, vinyl flooring that they put down today. Carpet, you wouldn't notice it, but vinyl flooring, because it's, obviously that thinner material, he says you're gonna feel it. Every time you move, you're gonna feel a click, you're gonna feel that it's moved if they didn't self-level with that. It's a scurry kind of stuff. It's like a watery stuff that levels it out.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because part of the reason I left the carpet was it was new, but also I have a basement in this house. And they're working on it now, but there's going to be 6 bedrooms downstairs. All right. No, take that back. 5 bedrooms downstairs and then 3. So there's going to be people underneath there. So the carpet sort of deadens that a little bit. It makes it to where it's not as noisy, right? So if you had the LVP and you have people stomping around, that's going to translate more. So the carpet helps absorb a little bit. So and also I can tell they have a thick pad in there because you can you can feel, pads, at least I can. You walk around and it's like, oh, that's pretty good.
Job. So they spent a little money on the carpet.
Yeah, it's like a decent pad in there. Not the thin crap, you can tell. They probably didn't do like a 5/8, but they did something enough where I could feel it. It was probably middle of the road. Cool. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Giancarlo asks, is there any way to chat ORAC communities to find South Florida decent contractors? Yeah, we get on the Skool community and type in there, or you might even get on Zuber's channel, YouTube channel, and then ask in there. There's a lot of stuff going on in those as well.
What, in the comments or?
Yeah, why not? And then he does have a Facebook page, but I think he doesn't. I don't think he does much with it anymore.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out. I mean, there's the only thing in the ORAT, Skool site. It's like I see you can post things there. I don't know if it's appropriate there. Put it there. I wish there was like a chat or community or bulletin board about. Is there anything like that in there?
Not that I know of, but you can get on Facebook and get on Facebook Florida groups. I mean, I think not all, but a lot of the Arizona
Facebook. Yeah. Okay, just trying to get some ideas. I don't belong to any Facebook groups yet, and I don't know if I want to, but I might have to.
You in Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, you're in Florida. Okay.
Yeah, it's just this is just a one-time. It's just a one-time deal. It's a lot of money that I can make. So it's like I won't be in Florida other than just reselling this house. So it's a quick deal, and it's just like I just need a good contractor.
Is the insurance an issue?
The insurance is not going to be an issue because I'm not owning the property. It's just like I'm a facilitator of a deal. That's all I am.
Well, I mean, like if you're going to sell it, right now you hear all the buzz about
it's already insured by the seller, and I'm not the end buyer.
What part of Florida?
It's South Florida.
South Florida. So
the southeast Florida.
The town?
Delray Beach.
Delray Beach. Okay. A little further. I actually have family in Florida. I was going to reach out, but you're a little further.
Yeah.
Not exactly there.
Yeah, it's Delray Beach, Florida. So it's north of Fort Lauderdale. It's like by Boynton Beach. It's like Palm Beach County, right there. So
yeah, I have family in Lakeland, Florida.
Lake Worth. No, that's not by Lakeland. It's
yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's what I said. When you said, I knew it wasn't near there. Yeah,
Lakeland is like up like Orlando or something.
Yep,
I think.
Yep, near Orlando.
No, I'm not anywhere. Yeah, I'm like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, too far. Too far. Yep.
Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, it's just basically like I'm facilitating the deal. It's essentially what I'm doing. It's just come in there, fix it up, and sell it like in the next 2 months, and just take the profit. And as far as insurance, yeah, that's a big deal in that part of the country, and that's kind of why I don't want it. I don't want to own the property, so it's more like a flip than anything else, really.
Are you looking at days on market for the MLS? Or are you going to sell it?
I'm fixing it up, and I'm taking the first good offer. Like, I'm not messing around. Like,
there you go.
Like I'm not messing around. I'm not going for like top dollar or top. It's just like I'm going to price it really, really aggressively.
Is the property? Is it going to be priced under median value in that area?
It's like so. I mean, I can tell you about that community specifically. It's like the houses that are selling fairly quickly, which means like less than 30 days, are selling for like 295 to 310 if they're fixed up really nicely. So does that answer your question?
I don't know. What are you selling your house for?
I'm going to sell it for whatever I have to get for it. So I got a great deal on it. So, but
Oh,
that's,
okay. So you've got a
I got a
spread
great,
there.
I'm way under that, way under
Nice.
that
Nice. Cool.
by a hell of a lot. So it's like, what I did have this question, and I've been looking at this deal pretty closely. And this one drives me nuts. So, I mean, I was looking at, this drives me nuts, and I don't know how to get around this problem, but I'm going to get around this problem, but I'll put it in the chat here. So it's like, it has to do with like the real estate commission, right? So real estate commission is 6%, but they go on the gross sale, right? So if I sell it for 300,000, they're going to expect 6% of 300,000, which is like, I'm not making 300,000, right? Because I have to buy it, flip it. There's costs involved. So I'm just basically taking the profit, right? The profit between like what I buy it for and fixing it up. And it's like, if you figure it as like an APR, like the percentage of profit from the real estate agent's perspective is like 42%, which seemed insane. So I was looking at ways of like reducing commission to basically increase my profit margin. So if you guys have any comments on tactics for doing that, I'd love to hear that.
Is there a way to get it? Are you going to list it on the MLS or?
I might have to. I mean, I probably will have to use the MLS, but unless I can end up, if I get lucky and find a buyer like directly, I would definitely consider that. And I would definitely consider like going way under market value to do that, because I think I would save money.
Good luck with that.
Okay.
I'd try to network with as many people in the Florida area, join the Facebook stuff there or whatever social media there, and just network right now, get that
Network right
going.
now. Yeah. Okay.
This from somebody who's never, I've sold my personal homes, but never flipped a home. Oh, well, not officially. I've done a live-in flip sort of. Back in 2007, I think it was, I bought a house. I stole it. It was super cheap. Somebody at Intel had to move for whatever job wise. And I bought this house for $229 in a real, like in a high end neighborhood. Like $229 doesn't sound like a lot now, but back then that was a lot of money. 2007, right? And so I lived in it. We did a few things, redid the tile in the bathrooms, and they had carpet in the bathrooms, man. To me, that's disgusting. I don't know why you do that. But tiled some stuff, did some fixer up stuff, and then had somebody come into the kitchen. And then a year and 1 day later, we sold it for 301. And yes. I figured, yeah, we did. Well, for me, that was you got to figure, 70 grand. We paid $4,000 in taxes. I had the best accountant ever, John Moon, and he died on me. Damn it. But anyway, this was back before I was an actual real estate, like a real investor. This was just a house. I thought, okay, I could make some money on it, live in, flip kind of thing. And did that and stayed 1 year and 1 day for the capital gains. And, I think we made like, what was it, 80 or 70, but 65 grand on the thing or whatever. And I was like, that was awesome. Right. But I also, we got lucky because when I did that and we noticed everything was kind of going to shit. Right. I'm like, oh crap. So I didn't want to do that again. So we ended up renting for a while. And then we bought a house in like 2009 for a pretty decent discount.
Yeah, I thought about the capital gains. I was going to originally buy the house and have it in my name, but the capital gains, I realized that's a killer. And it's like, so it's just like, I think the way I'm doing it now makes more sense. It's just like,
is it a good investment? Is it a good investment property?
No, it doesn't cash flow.
It doesn't cash flow. Okay.
It doesn't cash flow for me because it almost cash flows at the price I bought it at. But the problem is insurance rates are going up like crazy in Florida. And I think that's going to bite me. And
so it's not necessarily a big
sale
point with the,
It's like a
or,
break even. It's a break even with cash flowing. So it's like I'm not going to hold it for break even.
So
okay.
So
what's your tax strategy for absorbing or depreciating all that income that you potentially could get?
I don't really have a great one right now. It's like I'm not going to take capital gains because I'm basically never taking ownership of it. So it's like I'll have to pay an income tax gain on my W-2. On my W-2, I'll have to claim that it's an income. It will generate income for me this year, but
You got
I
to buy a
don't
property
have.
before the end of the year, it sounds like.
I don't know what to do. I mean, I don't think, will that help me? Will that help? I mean, I
Yeah.
thought
Well,
about
if it's
that.
a rental,
It's a primary resident for somebody. So, but it's like I'm basically selling it for them. But I mean, they don't have to pay capital gains or
yeah,
anything
but
on that.
you're gonna make X amount of money, right? And whatever that X
Yes.
amount is, you're gonna pay whatever your tax rate is at whatever time, right? And so
Yeah.
if you buy another property in the same year, now I'm not an accountant, I don't know, this
Yeah.
is what I've been doing the last couple of years. But if you buy
Yeah.
another property that is a rental property that you could do a cost saving and bonus depreciation, assuming you have real estate professional status or you short term rental it or whatever, for the short term rental loophole, then you could offset a portion. It's a 40 or yeah, this year's a 40% year, so it's not as big as last year, but still, it could be 100% if this bill ever gets passed, and that would be fantastic.
May, I hear they're going to have an announcement in May for that.
Nice. Yeah, man, I'm so stoked for that. Like if
So
it,
you're saying I might be able to, I don't really I'm not quite getting that, but you're saying I might make $50,000 off of this. So I can take this cash and invest it into like a couple, like I live next to Kansas City. I could buy 2 or 3 houses potentially
yeah,
really
but
fast.
it depends on, well, you want to make good investments. You want to buy a house
Yeah.
that's going to work for you, whatever you
Oh
want
yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
But if you buy in Kansas City, my guess is what the houses are, what, 100,000 there?
Yeah. I saw one the other week where I was interested in it for about 100,000.
So let's say there's $100,000 house and it's a 40%. Let's say the 100% never passes and it's only 40%. That 40% is just on the property value, not the land. So let's just take 25% off. So now you have 75 grand. Let's say this is all rough math, by the way. So now you have 75 grand. Let's say you do the cost saving, you do the bonus depreciation, you qualify for the real estate professional, and you've got 750 hours, all the crap you need for that. Then you have the 75 grand. And let's say you do the cost seg on that and blah, blah, blah. And it comes out to be like 20 grand. I mean, 20 grand is not going to offset your 50 grand. So this is where your CPA and maybe your accountant or your EA or whoever can get involved and tell you, look, this is the amount of property or the amount you need to buy in order. If your goal is to offset that 50 grand, it might not be. Some people just want to pay the taxes, move on. Me, I'm a cheap ass. I don't want to pay the taxes. So I'm trying to get to that zero sum game, and I'll get there, not this year, but next.
Yeah, I probably won't get there. I don't have all those people that you're talking about, like the CPA, and so and so and so and so. So it's like I might have to just pay the taxes on this year, and which is kind of a pain. But hey, it's $50,000. $50,000 I wouldn't have had otherwise. So
right.
Even if I got to pay 22%, taxes on it, then oh well,
it's only April. You got a whole year, man. Like I would say, do that. You make the 50 grand. I would say, just me, it would be worth it to take some of that profit and have an accountant, right? Like the accountant, people don't want to pay. I did this too, by the way. I was going cheap because I got lucky in the beginning. I had John Moon. The guy was awesome, right? And he was just, I got lucky because he normally wouldn't take people like me. He was a wealthy dude. And I knew a guy like my brother's, this is stupid, but my brother's best friend's dad was a mortgage broker. And I asked him one time, Glenn McDermott was his name. He passed away a while back too. All these old guys. I asked him who his accountant was, and he told me John Moon, Northwest Tax Services. So I went and interviewed him, and the guy was awesome. And normally he wouldn't do that, but he took me, he let me come in because of Glenn, right? So that relationship thing, right? Even though I didn't know it at the time. But this guy was awesome. But I would say a good accountant is worth every freaking penny. And now I'm saying this, my current accountant is $350 an hour. And just to do my taxes is $1,000. And you would think that $1,000 is stupid, but I found it to be very, very lucrative. We had 45 grand back in taxes for 2023 taxes in 2024. This year, we wiped out with our depreciation that I know of, we had to resubmit the P&L, 210 grand in write-offs, which is awesome. And a lot of that's from the advice and whatnot. Hey, do this, do that, and make sure this, all that kind of crap. And then I failed to ask something really basic, which is, I didn't know this, and this is going to sound dumb, but you don't know what you don't know. I didn't split off my income and my expenses per property. I did it as one lump sum. So you need to separate those out. My bad. I didn't know. Makes sense now that it sounds dumb saying it out loud, but I didn't know that. So learning as I go. But now I'm switching up to main bean counters, the Matt Lumberjack and Mike and all those guys. And he's $250 more. He's like $1,250 for the taxes. And then also, I don't remember what his run rate is, but talking to Matt and Dion and Zuber, it's totally worth it. You know what I mean? Tax strategy. It's more of what you keep, not what you make kind of thing. And so that's what I like. I would look into the accountant thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like, I need to ask more questions, basically.
Sorry, I've been rambling on here a lot. Sorry, guys. I trying to realtor check, item value, agent sticker, commission 6%. Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool. All right. What else we got? It's 2:00 and I've been talking the whole time. I'm sorry. I'm going to shut up now and let you guys chat. But caffeine's kicking in.
There you go.
We got Jim on here. We got Flavio. We got Chris. We got Kevin, Peggy, Robert, and Wayne. You guys got anything on your minds?
I can share 2 pictures just very quickly. It's more of a show and tell than it is anything else.
Okay, let me get the share thing going on. Advanced sharing options. All participants. Who can start sharing? Let's see. One participant can share at a time. Okay, cool. Give that a shot and see what happens.
All right, let's see if we can get this puppy to work. So, in my journey going from real estate landlord to now I am a real estate tenant as well.
Wow.
This is our construction project. This is 2 weeks in. This used to be a Rite Aid inside. Like, this guy's just cleaned house. I think I have one other picture. Let's see if I can get that.
What are you doing with it?
It's getting turned into a canine resort. It's like a dog daycare.
Those are very popular here in Oregon because there's a lot of wealthy people here, and they do this. This is I didn't think this was a thing, but because of COVID, during that time frame, people bought a lot of dogs and animals because they were stuck in their house, and I was one of them too. So it just took off. So this might be a pretty damn good strategy. What state are you in?
I'm in the main line outside of Philly, right by Villanova.
Oh, okay, cool. Awesome,
I
man.
understand your involvement in this. Are you like building it? Are you owning it?
Yeah, I'd love to own it, but we got lucky with Rite Aid stupidity. So we're in a very good retail, like, high traffic area spot. Unfortunately, I had to lease it, which does not make me happy, but for the location, it was worth it. And the franchise negotiated just a killer price. I think there's one other picture I can share. But I offer this. Well, first of all, I think it's cool, like how quickly a true commercial GC can move. Like literally, like imagine like a Rite Aid with maybe minus the shelves. Like they stripped the walls, they took the ceiling, took all the ceiling tile out, stripped it bare, and not only do they have a lot of the framing up for a lot of the rooms, they've already cut in the slab to run plumbing, and I'm really impressed how quickly these guys move when you give them a good. But the more interesting thing for me is it's been really so. I have 3 commercial properties that that we own that we're landlords of, and now being on the other side of that coin has been really, really instructive. It's made me realize that if I can avoid it, I don't know that I want to do any more commercial real estate as a landlord. But it's such a different market. It's a different investment model entirely. You're absolutely playing the long game. not uncommon. This unit was vacant for 16, maybe as much as maybe going over 18 to 20 months. There's another one of these that Rite Aid's model was the Burger King model. Like we'll open one right across from CVS, and then you wonder right after COVID ended that why all the stores started to all fail. So there's another one that's been vacant for 14 months, right? So just a very different investment mindset. I learned about this thing called TI, tenant improvement dollars. Like it's not uncommon, not even for a big place like this, but just the little mom and pop like beauty salons in a strip mall. It's not uncommon for the landlord to give them $50,000 to get the unit, you know, for lack of a better word, functional and tailored to them. Um, Very different investment model. So anyway, I just thought that's and then to your comment, Jared, like we work in private equity. We're like the home inspector. We just do it for companies. Like I've been in literally dozens of pet food, pet toy, pet treat, pet bed, like manufacturing and distribution businesses over COVID. To your point, the pet industry became really, really popular. That's when I kind of discovered this franchise brand, and yeah, so it's a diversification strategy. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good one because I've seen, at least in my area and even different, I have three kids that go to three different schools, and the knock-on effect from COVID because of the people getting dogs.
Yeah.
The kids, the people that didn't get dogs are now getting dogs and cats and animals and stuff because the kids that were stayed at home, the social skills aren't as good, and some of the parents are like, well, they're using the dog or the cat or whatever is somewhat. I know it's sad. What's the old? You ever see Breakfast Club? Sad
Oh
and
yeah.
demented, but social. So kind of stuff like that. But then they go to dog parks and they go to things like what you're doing, and it's a way to get them socialization, not in school. And so
Yeah.
it's interesting to see like how that happens. It's a whole thing. I don't do it, but I know you are, and I've heard this time and time again, and I've seen down my area. There's these dog homes. Like they took a regular home and they do doggy daycare. And then
Yep.
my wife's other friend, his wife does it in her house. She's got like 18 dogs, right? And she charges a mint. She makes, and it's under the table, but she makes a ton of money watching all these friggin' dogs. I mean, I wouldn't do that to my house, but hey, if it works for some people, you know what I mean? She loves
Yeah.
dogs, so good for her.
Yeah.
The whole
So
industry I never knew anything about. Fairly lucrative too, from what I understand.
yeah, that's it for me.
Cool beans. Oh, Robert, you've been pretty quiet. Usually you've got something to throw out there. And Jim too. You guys have been pretty quiet today. I know Jim's surfing on Wayfair, but
I don't know, not much news going on with me other than like electrocuting myself almost.
110 or 220.
Oh, even worse. It was 310.
Holy crap, that's a hell of a shock. I've never been shocked by that much voltage.
I actually didn't shock myself, but I sent sparks flying. Full,
Wow.
full circuit, full circuit panel. My hand slipped on the ground, and the ground wire somehow got into contact with the main line and sent sparks flying and tripped the breaker. I'm trying to fix up a mess some idiot did. I didn't know my water heater was had no neutral on it. Someone just decided to take 210s and use both the hot and the neutral for power, and I'm trying to figure out how the hell did they get this working.
Hmm.
And that, which basically I'm just ripping the entire 10.2 out and just putting in 10.3 because I'm supposed to be getting a new water heater in a week or so. But
Have you seen the prices on those, man? Water heaters used
yeah,
to be like $500-600. I just paid
yeah,
$2,000 for a freaking water. Now, granted, it was a big one and a nice one and all that, but
yeah. I know I'm going to have to pay like one. I think the one I'm eyeballing is 1,500 for a 55-gallon electric water heater.
yeah, man, like
There,
it's stupid.
I want a bigger one, but unfortunately, they don't make bigger electric water heaters than 55 from Rheem. Then you're going into a hybrid ones, which those ones are just expensive and worthless. They have way too many problems
Yeah, I've
with
got one
those.
house that everything there is electric, including the water heater. I know gas is, typically better and faster, but it's been working. I was anticipating problems with it, but with
Well,
8 people in a
I wouldn't
house.
do, I wouldn't do gas. Electric's just much easier to. First of all, generally speaking, electric water heaters you can get a little more life out of than the gas water heaters because there's no, you know,
Well, it depends on
electric
your
isn't as
strategy. Like if
elect,
you're doing long-term rental, sure, but I've got
yeah.
8 people in a house, right? And if you got 2 or 3, 4 people taking showers that close together, you probably want gas, but for whatever reason, it's been working out for me with the electric. It's a big.
Well, no, in that case, you'd want it. Well, not that this wouldn't be a thing in Arizona, but in that case, you'd want a boiler system to do heat and hot water. You'd want one of mass IBCs if you wanted 4 people taking a shower at once.
I don't know that we are. I just was thinking that was my thought process, but it's worked
Mm,
out. And the
yeah,
reason I like
yeah.
it is that house has paid for solar and it generates 65 kilowatts a day. So it takes care of basically all my utility bills, even with 8 people in there. I may pay
Mhm.
$20 a month for utilities.
Yeah, I'm guessing solar works out better where you are. Solar is just basically there's no payoff to solar here up here in New Hampshire. There, the cost does not justify it at
Yeah.
all.
This is because it's an older system and I got legacied in. I got legacied in on 2 properties, by the way. This one was a paid for solar that I got legacied in. So everything it generates, it takes off the bill. And then one of my other houses, it's not. It's like they pay me 2 cents if I send power back to them, but yet if I use from the grid, then it's like 12 to 15 cents depending on the year. So that one kind of sucks, but it helps out like 100 or $200 or so, and that's in the summertime. Then it's like 387 a month in the summer, which sounds high to some, but I've got another property with no solar. And it's about 600 plus a month in the summertime, so that sucks. But this latest one I just bought, it's also an old legacy system by 1 month. I went and looked it up in 2017. It's a 20-year lease, so I don't like leases, but in this case, I got a good deal in the house. Everything's under 4 years, like the roof, the AC, blah blah blah. And I had them send me the power bill for the summer, and it was like $20, but the lease costs $220, and so I'll be paying about $240, $250, let's say in the summer, which is still cheaper than what I would pay without the solar. So it's basically a wash, but a little bit of a bonus there. So I went ahead and did it because it's the legacy 1-to-1. Had it been the one where I have to pay, 12 to 15 cents a kilowatt hour, and they're only giving me 2 cents, I might not have bought the house because of it, or had them take the lease off, take the solar off the house, and I'd have bought it that way. But it was a net positive, so I went for it.
So now that you mentioned that, I'm actually curious about something. Are you like up with the sheer amount of people in your house? Oh wait, you're doing no, never mind, because you're doing a central AC system.
Most of
That's
them. I
you.
do have a couple
Oh,
of mini splits in a couple of houses that I added on.
oh,
Like I took the Arizona room,
oh,
turned it into a
yeah.
bedroom, so we added a mini split. But
Basically, you're not up here where I'm just saying buy a window unit and have fun. Because I was about to think like if you're doing rent by room like in Europe here, it's like if you don't have central AC, every room blowing an AC at once, that's going to require some rewiring because houses like here are like wired like entirely poorly. But I forgot you're in Arizona, so you guys like I'm guessing it's like you have to, or else your home isn't habitable.
we've got a couple. Oh, was there a question there, Robert?
Oh no,
No.
oh
Okay.
no,
Okay.
kind of. I was saying I'm guessing you guys have to have central AC in your house, or else
Oh yeah.
it's not even habitable where
Oh yeah.
you're.
There's no, you have to have it. Like people could die, right? So, and matter of fact, I've got
Yeah.
4 AC guys. Like most things, I have two. I have like, 2 electricians, 2 plumbers, whatever, but AC, I've got 4. But you gotta have an it because they're always
Yeah,
busy in the summer. So you gotta have those multiple backups. And that's one
yeah,
of the other things. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm saying yes. It's not like here where it's only used like 3 months out of the year.
Yeah, yeah. So that's back to what I was saying about I don't mind paying more because I found, and Jim, you can comment on this too. Um, I pay what they're asking for the I mean, I get good deals and whatnot, but I pay instantly. Like as soon as they do the work, I pay. Sometimes I tip or whatever, depending on whatever it is. But I also don't grumble over prices because I want them to, like, if I call in the summer, I want them to actually take my call, right? And if you're somebody who's like gonna mess around and nickel and dime them, they're not gonna want to deal with you. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to be a good customer, right? And they're good providers. So that's where I come out.
Do your water heaters, go to the supply houses and look for scratch and dents. You get them half off.
Oh, wow. That's a great idea, Jim. Holy crap.
Yeah, I would do that idea, but the problem is there's only one model of 55-gallon electric water heater that I've seen, and I really want to do 55 gallons just because this is going to be a situation where there's potentially 3 back-to-back showers. So I'm trying to maximize that as possible. But that is a great strategy if I could get away with like a 50 or something, because there are plenty of 50, multiple 50s exist.
50 or 5 gallons is not going to make a difference. What you need is a high recovery one, which is going to cost a lot more.
I wonder if this is dumb. Maybe that's what I bought because I was surprised at the price. I got to call my plumber and see what he bought for me because I don't even know. That's how dumb I
Yeah,
am.
just don't get the hybrids for what you're doing. They won't work.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I know that hybrid water heaters are expensive and worthless.
Hey, Kevin has a question in chat. He's got a couple. He's trying to check on what people use for the average area rents. And the other one is any recommendations for creating a trust or member. So my strategy is a little different. So I figured I'd ask the group here if they got any comments for Kevin. It's in the chat. I mean, I do, my strategy is a little different. So the way I do my rent, every average of rents is a little different. But I would imagine you can go to Zillow and look at what things are renting for over time. You'll see if, 2 months or whatever the time frame is. Like I look in my strategy for like PadSplits and other rent by room things, and I watch it over time. And you can get yourself a little spreadsheet, but I kind of get a gist. I'm probably not doing it the right way, but I look to see. And if it disappears after a month or so, I'm going to assume that it got rented. And I don't know what the rate is, but I kind of get a feel. So what do you guys do?
I've just been looking at realtor.com and just keeping track of it for the last 6 months. Because my area is rural and it's none of those sites and stuff like that work. So that's the only thing I've been able to do for what I'm doing.
I know Bigger Pockets has a rent estimator on it. So you can plug in the address and it will give you an estimate based on what it finds. And it'll give you the high confidence, medium confidence, or low confidence. I'm guessing in a rural area, it'd probably be low confidence because there's not a lot of things to compare to. But you might get on Bigger Pockets. I don't know if that's a pro thing or a regular thing. I've got the pro thing, so I don't know if that's a regular thing. But there's that. May or may not work for you. I do know that people say that it works fairly well in bigger cities, right? So if you're in a rural area, probably not so much. So there's that. There's also the HUD, right, that Dion uses for the what Section 8 pays, and he leverages that for area average rents. Those are a couple of avenues you might try, Kevin. Anybody else have a comment for Kevin?
What about Property Radar? You know if that does anything like that?
I've heard of it. I don't know. I think I've heard of that. I've just never used it. But
Yeah, it's they're going to be on next Sunday with Zuber.
oh, nice. There you go, Kevin. I'd get on the next Sunday with Zuber and maybe get in there and ask some questions or look at what they've got going on.
Yeah, they went through it a lot at Deal Chance because that's all of them use it. But I don't know if it's more for wholesale, for they're using it more for wholesaling or for rent box or what they're doing it for.
And then his other questions about creating a trust. I haven't done mine yet. I'm going to refi everything first. I'm going to wait for the rates to come down. Now, I personally believe that Q3, Q4 things are going to fall off a cliff, and regardless of what the Fed does. And so, I'm hoping to refi in a 5 handle. Once I do that, I'll put everything in a trust. So I'm in the same boat you are, Kevin. I want to figure. I'll use my lawyers. I use KKOS. So I'll probably just do whatever they tell me to do.
You think it's really going to drop 2 points?
So if you follow macro, and I'll pay points to get
Yes.
there. I do.
Well,
I think it's going to
it'll be 5% by the end of the year.
I think the federal funds rate will be 3, and the mortgages will be 5.5 or 5 or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. But if you look at the macro, it's bad. Like things. I mean, all you got to do is look at the whether the Trump Powell thing, they're not going to cut in May, but I almost guarantee they're cutting in June, maybe even a 50, because we'll see what happens. But it's global. It's a global economic disaster, right? And it's all because of
every central bank in the world is dropping like crazy. U.S. is like the last holdout.
They are, yeah. And
Trump has pretty much said, hey, Jerome Powell, you're wrong. Like, drop this thing now.
From one perspective, I think he's right, but from another, it's if you want to make sure that you don't have inflation, then you do what Powell's doing. But as a consumer, and I'm like, hey man, cut, but whatever. But if you look at the 10-year, it is dropping, right? Where I think we're at a 4.25. It was 4.23 yesterday, so it did come down from the 4.5, and it's drop. So we'll see what happens. But what I'm talking about is a drastic move. And look at gold, right? Gold is just taken off like hedge, and there's some serious stress in the globe, right? And Trump didn't help matters by throwing the damn tariffs out there, but I get where he's coming from. It's not necessarily a financial one. I don't know if you guys saw, but 3 days ago, the U.S. just sent a destroyer through the Taiwan Straits, and China freaked out, right? And then they sent basically an armada with the Philippines patrolling that area as well. So there's some serious tension there. So basically, that was it's supposed to be international trade waters, but China thinks it's their waters. So there's some serious stuff going on. It's not all economic. So anyway, tensions are high, and I think back to real estate and back to finances. I think there will be a drop. We'll see. Who knows? I know Zuber said that he thinks that he's kind of changed a little bit back and forth with his 7 for longer, but with just watch the unemployment. The other 3 pillars have already fallen. The unemployment, as soon as that, it'll be interesting to see when this next 30th. Yeah, 3 days we get the print for the unemployment. That'll be telling. That'll be interesting to see what the Fed does. But I think that the unemployment, I mean, look at Intel. They're laying off. A lot of companies are laying off. The airlines they're not even giving guidance anymore. They're like, screw it. We don't know what the hell is going to happen. So it's bad. I mean, this is dumb, but a lot of the businesses like Joann Fabrics, which, 800 stores shut down. Target lost. Walmart's lost. McDonald's is screwed. The people aren't buying fries. Hell, Frito-Lay just announced that they're not giving guidance, or I don't know if they're not giving guidance, but I think their guidance was low. When people aren't buying chips or fries, or things are bad. And that was bad enough for the last 2 years. But then
I read a news article about people using buy now, pay later on groceries. It's bad.
Yeah, that's happening. It's bad.
Holy smokes.
And that's bad for the lower 50%, but even the upper echelon is pulling back now. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not talking about, there's a lower 50 and then there's the top 30, 40, however you count it. I'm talking the top 10%. That top 10% that's paying 50% of our GDP or whatever the hell it is, that's pulling back. So things are bad when even and that's basically because of the stock market, if you want to look at it that way. When things take a dive like that, then they don't feel confident enough. Hey, my portfolio just took a 10, 15, 20% hit. Oh shit. They don't feel good about, look at the luxury home market. It was doing great there up until about 2-3 weeks ago. It all just went, it stopped, right? Contracts getting canceled.
I had this epiphany like yesterday or today was like, isn't these tariffs similar to COVID? Like,
in a way.
Because, aren't you just artificially creating like this huge disruption across the economy?
Yeah.
And is that what COVID was?
Yeah. Well, you can't shut the world down for 2 years and think, oh, we're going to have a soft landing. It doesn't work that way. and it takes time, right? So I believe what we're about to experience is started back in 2008, and they've been kicking that can down the road, and then the pandemic, as Dion calls it, I actually tend to agree with him because that unlocked the emergency funds that they could just print paper and throw it on the economy, and everything will be better. Nah, 8 trillion or whatever the hell it went to. I mean, you can't do that, right? And then expect everything to be fine. So that's another reason I think that we are the U.S. is the last holdout. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, but when all the other central banks have cut, right? Switzerland's damn near zero, Japan style, and you can't. When the whole globe does that, we're not like, I mean, we are special being the reserve currency, but I personally believe it's going to drop. So yeah, circle back around to that. Sorry, but
I agree.
We'll see what happens. I mean,
we'll see who's right.
And I do agree with Zuber, be careful what you wish for. All of us are investors, and if it happens, it happens. And if it does, you bet your ass I'm going to refi every damn thing to the lowest rate I can get. And if it comes down to let's say I can get a 5 handle on it, I'll pay points to get to that 4. I don't care. I'm trying to squeeze every dime out. And to me, the extra costs, I want to do the Brandon Potts style. He paid 4 points. I wouldn't do that, but he wanted to set it and forget it. And granted, he's probably got a lot more money than I do, and he's got 12 properties or whatever he has. But he got down to a 5-4. And for him, it was worth it to pay those 4 points. Pay those 4 points to get there so he can just move on with his life and not worry about it. Me, I'm in the beginning stages. And so I want to maximize every dollar I can, velocity banking, credit cards, leveraging debt, blah, blah, blah. That's why I'm still in my W-2, because my W-2 just goes straight to real estate, But anyway, I said I wasn't going to ramble on, and here I am rambling some more. Sorry. Note to self: don't drink
the real estate stuff is interesting to me. The macro stuff is really interesting to me too. So
I find it fascinating, because this whole, I was so dumb, I
got really into like bonds and reading about bonds and understanding bonds, which I totally did not understand like 3 years ago, like what a bond was or how that works. But
yeah, I know that there's a narrative going around, which isn't necessarily untrue. And it is true, but I don't think it's the whole picture, which is, China's selling off bonds and Europe's selling off bonds to tank the U.S. and all that.
It's not true.
There's some of that, right? You got some hedge fund guys out there talking.
Why are they doing that?
Yeah, there's some of those people doing that to then maybe, like, and Zuber talks about this too, like drop their overall exposure by 8% or something like that. And there's some of that going on. But I think the bigger picture is just what we had in 2008, what we had in 2020, and what we're doing right now, which is liquidity. Right, the dollar's exactly. The reserve currency. What are you going to do?
About liquidity, right? They need the dollars.
Yeah.
So how do you get dollars? Well, you cash out of your treasury, right?
Yeah. I mean, how do you get them? When you need them, you need them.
Dollars. When you need dollars, you need dollars, right?
Yeah. And I think that
just happened to a Japanese fund. They had to liquidate a bunch of treasuries to stay solvent or something.
Yeah. Well, that's because somebody screwed up. I think I don't remember was it a bank or was it somebody screwed up when they probably got caught with their pants down when the rates went up. But then when the stock market took a hit, that's a double whammy. So my guess is they were leveraged, right, with the currency, like everybody else does. So my guess is something blew up over there and they're like, oh shit, and they had to cover. And that's a piece of it, but when the bond moves that far in that short a time, it's a global thing, in my opinion. Anyway, cool.
Yep, pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's fun just to follow it and listen to all the people. And the guy that I like the most is Jeff Snyder, Eurodollar. And the reason I like him is because he's been right every time. But for the things that he studies and he goes about, I've been watching him for 2 years now, and all the calls he's made, he's been right on all of them. Now this one though, I don't agree with him that it's solely liquidity. I think liquidity is a big one, but also there's some of that. Hey, look at Canada. They're pissed off. Like in Phoenix, I'm in the Phoenix market. So a lot of the Canadians are selling their homes. They're pissed at Trump. They don't want the U.S. Blah, blah, blah. They're not coming to the U.S. for the springtime. They're going down to Mexico, places like that. So there's some of that going on. So it can't be all liquidity. I think there's another portion of, hey, U.S. pissing people off, or Trump did more specifically. All righty. Well, nothing else to chat about. We can end it here, guys, or if you want to jump into some other topics, let's do it.
Hey guys, I have a deal actually that I'm taking a look at and put in an LOI. Sorry, I was with the kiddo and he's taking a nap, so I couldn't really talk for the most part. But yeah, I'd like to get you guys' opinions on it.
Hey, before you start, do you want me to
Yeah.
stop the recording? Are you going to give any specifics?
Yeah, actually that'd be great.
Okay, let me stop the recording 1 second.